Hey guys, Chris Love, the owner of Love to Dev, and I'm back with you for the Philly Code Camp Progressive Web App Schedule application. And in this video, what I want to do is I just want to go over essentially the build and parsing script that I wrote. Now, honestly, I'm not sure why I put so many little things in this, but again, I was just trying to run through and race to get this thing done over the weekend, so it's not as refactored as normal. Now, honestly, what I do with scripts like this now is I'll kind of work through some of the logic here, and then I will transform those into AWS Lambdas and make those part of my overall infrastructure build process, render process, if you will, if I need to. And anyway, I do have a session where I'm going to go over some serverless, a lot of serverless stuff in AWS, doing Lambdas and the serverless concepts and stuff this Saturday at the Code Camp, which you can find on the Schedule app if you go get it. Anyway, so I just want to go over real quick. If you're not familiar with doing node modules or scripts, basically you need to reference the node modules, and so the FS and path are native node modules for file system, and path to manipulate paths and interact with the file system. Now in a Lambda I wouldn't actually I wouldn't even reference either one of these because it wouldn't be any use because there is no file system to play with. But I would reference this. This is Mustache. This is a templating library, and I do use Mustache most of my sites. If not, I've got there's like a 21, 22 line JavaScript templating function that John Resig created that was in Backbone. Essentially, it was not really Backbone, but it was part used in Backbone, but it was part of the underscore library. And it's another modification I actually used, but it's like 21 lines of code to do the templating. But it does require you to do some, I don't know, kind of fierce data transforms, and I honestly got a little burned out on that, so I went back to Mustache. I always set a UTF-8 variable because I use that multiple times when I'm writing to and from the file system. That way I don't have to manipulate the string multiple places. Anyway, so here I am loading our main data source file for the Code Camp schedule, and just real quick, this is what that file looks like. It's just a list of all, I think, 63 sessions, and it does include the Friday sessions as well as the Saturday sessions. I think if we scroll down to the bottom, yeah, these are the Friday sessions. Those I think I am filtering out of the application because those are full-day workshops, and I don't think the scheduling app is going to be all that useful to you for a full-day workshop. Anyway, so anyway, I did go over real quick the app shell. If you're not familiar with the concept of an app shell, if you've done any single-page applications, you have been using an app shell. I'm pretty sure of it. But I'm going to make a separate video just about app shells here in the next few days. I got that on the slate. But for progressive web apps and single-page apps, the idea, and really any web app, it's that master layout stuff. So the header, the common footer, maybe the common layout features you may have, your nav, all that kind of stuff. Basically the skeleton of your core site. And if we go look at the actual page that I have here, I got it all like tiny. Oh, here we go. It's all up there. You can see that this is stuff that's going to be reused. Notice I've got some Mustache fields in here. I've got the title in here, and then because the descriptions of the courses were all over the place, and I know that to make a description for search engine optimization, you need to have a certain number of characters, yada yada. I decided to do that. And then I've got the social media stuff that you need in the header. It's kind of a small header compared to what you would do for a real production app. Here's the header, which is basically a bootstrap nav bar, which I've got some content on working with those, but we don't really have a menu here because I'm doing the side navigation for the faceted search, and I want to go over the structure of this in a separate video, so don't worry about that. But I'm just going over the app shell. Here is the side navigation piece. These are common things to everything, to all the pages in this particular application. Here's the JavaScript references, and that's it. This is, again, super simple application. And so, anyway, let's go back to this script is really to tee up everything. So this is the individual session template, the mustache template for that. And if we want, I can go load that up. Here's my template folder, and hit the wrong thing. Stupid app cache, always getting in the way. All right, so here's our session detail layout. The mustache fields are just indicated by double squiggly brackets, and that's why it's called mustache, because it looks like a mustache on its side. And those are the fields that come from the JSON. And the triple squiggly brackets indicate that you need to encode, because I do that because those are actually HTML, and if I didn't do that, it would make those turn out wrong. Let's just put it that way. But you would actually see the markup. We don't want that. So, okay, I want to go over the template here. We'll do that later. Load the sessions. This is going to give us a string, so we need to parse that into a JavaScript object. So I just do a quick conversion, and I initialize an array for the sessions, and then I went ahead and, as part of this, I went ahead and do essentially a faceted breakdown of the sessions by each session time. I wound up not actually using that, but that's okay. Now I made a function to go through and render out the individual session page. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the app shell and I am dropping in the session template. And if we go look at the app shell itself, I put in a little special delineator here, and I'm just doing it one time so I can do this simple replace, the string replace. And I just did the open angle bracket and percent, and then the inverse on the other side. And all I'm doing is just giving it a place to go through and drop in this particular template. And I did that so I could do that for like any potential page I might make. And I do that kind of thing a lot of times for the app shell in these kind of scenarios. And mustache is super simple to do. You just call the mustache object or whatever you've named the mustache object. And the render method, you pass in the markup, which has the actual template. And the reason why I dropped this into that is because the app shell has some mustache fields in the header for the title, basically in this case, and then the actual template, which you saw a minute ago. This will be the individual session JSON, the JavaScript object. And so what it'll do is it'll take that object, merge those fields, matching the properties up, and it'll spit out the markup for us. Now we're making markup. You could do strings or anything else that's a string. Whatever you wanted to do, just text files, markdown, whatever it may be. That's why mustache is like awesome. So anyway, now the actual place I want to put it is going to be under the public folder, which is where I'm hosting the website locally in my development code. And then there's a subfolder called session, and then the actual file itself will go in another folder that uses the slug. Now this is a way for static websites to do extensionless URLs. That way I don't have to do /slug/index.html, and this makes it, it uses that as the default, so that will make it an extensionless URL. Now, to do this, I actually need to make sure that the folder doesn't exist before I go make it, because Node will puke on us if we do that. So we have to actually check to see if it exists. If it doesn't exist, then go create it. Of course, after you run the thing the first time, it should exist in this case, but you know, it's a good practice. You got to do it just once, so you always have to do it. And then here's where I actually create the file, just using the native Node file system object. Now I don't do the callback thing. Usually I do the sync thing on these particular things. How many times can I say thing? Anyway, so but here's where you write it, and again it's going to be index.html there, but because of the way the web servers work, that'll be the default document, so you don't have to actually type that to bring it up. And then of course here is the HTML that was rendered using mustache in our nice little UTF-8 reference. Isn't that cool? Okay, now to actually get into the script itself, the first thing I want to do is I want to filter out and just get sessions that are Saturday. So this is just a simple way to do that. It just loops through all of them and gives me back an array that only includes Saturday sessions. And then I want to sort them so that the 8:30 sessions are the first sessions, and then on to that. Now I didn't go through and like try to do them alphabetically or by room or by speaker or anything like that. I just did it grouping by time, and however they lay out it. I don't think it really mattered that much. And this is just a simple way to do the time. And because the time wasn't really a valid date object, and I just wanted to keep it simple. Right here, I'm just stripping out the semicolon or the colon that separates the hour from the minutes, and that is perfectly fine for what we needed to have happen here. And so what's going to happen is it's going to sort these 8:30 first all the way down to the 3 o'clock sessions. Now, here I'm looping through all of the sessions after we've got them sorted and filtered, and we are writing out the actual individual session JSON file. I wound up not actually using it, but it doesn't. This whole script takes like a half a second to run, so it's not a huge deal. And then I used a switch statement, which if you haven't seen my JavaScript switch statement article I recently published, there's a link to it. And basically I break it down by session time, and what I'm doing is pushing those into the individual session faceted JSON files, and we'll write each one of those out. We'll do that down here. I could have looped through and done it. I don't know. This just worked out faster for me to just copy and paste. I don't know. It wasn't that many. And then I'm going to write out the sorted and filtered JSON file, and this is the one I actually wound up using in the application. So that's what this script does. It's just there to basically parse it. Now, every time I change the app shell, I re-execute this. Obviously, I don't really need to do the data files anymore. I really just need to, if I really wanted to be efficient, I would just make one that just did the HTML for me and did it that way. And honestly, that's all I would make for the most part in my Lambda. Actually, well, generally I trigger all my rendering processes off a JSON data file change. I won't get into that. I'll talk more about that in my session on Saturday about AWS, and I will make videos about those eventually. So anyway, this is a quick run through of the script to actually build and render. If you got any questions, leave those in the comments below. Check me out Saturday if you see me at the Code Camp. I'd love to talk to you about all this. This is a lot of fun. This isn't necessarily the progressive web app related, but I just wanted to go over how I get the content produced. So anyway, I have more videos in the series. Hope you check them out.